time for the healing of the wounds has come.
People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it.
My mom wanted me to be a truck driver.
There's way too many people that are doing stuff they hate.
Stop thinking about it, damn it, and do it.
I am the greatest.
You get who's with you and go after your stuff. Go after your destiny. Go after your dreams.
Yo, this is Brad. Welcome to another episode of the Tosa B Show. There's going to be mostly B, very little Tosa in this show. I'll throw a song on the end of the episode, as I usually do, for your listening enjoyment. So what I wanted to talk about is little wins and how you can stack little wins to build momentum, and how that can lead into bigger wins in your life, and how you can really just start at such a tiny little seemingly insignificant place and wind up somewhere truly incredible. So what do I mean by little wins? A little win in life could be something as simple as you've been procrastinating on taking out the trash and you took out the trash. And I really mean that. I think that stuff that's that simple is really just the low-hanging fruit of your day-to-day existence. And if you can get yourself to take action starting on little things, it's like a snowball, or like an avalanche. An avalanche can start from one little rock, the butterfly effect kind of thing. And what happens when you take action, and if you notice, if you ever do a self-help program, they always start by forcing you on the first day, I guess they can't really force you, but they tell you on the first day your exercise, so to speak, is to go and do one or two things that you're procrastinating. I just restarted Tony Robbins' personal power program, and I love that audio program. I've gone through it probably 3 or 4 times. I would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. And all of Tony's stuff is amazing. Listen to me, Tony. He's like my best friend. But highly recommend it. But what he does in the first tape is your exercise at the end of his, hour monologue about how you can do it, blah, blah, blah. All he has you do is 2 little things that you've been procrastinating. They could be make a phone call to someone who you've been meaning to call but you haven't in a while. It could be send an email following up on something that you just lost track of. It's really supposed to be very little things. And the reason he does that, sorry, Tony, if you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm giving away state secrets here. But the reason he has you do that is because when you take action on those little things, it does a couple things inside your body. And this is this is secondhand experience. I'm not claiming to be a doctor, and these claims are not medically verified personally. But the way I understand it is your brain chemistry actually gets slightly altered when you start taking action. You are more easily put into a flow state. You actually think less. Ironically, most people think that, like having an active mind and thinking is what leads to great success. It's actually the opposite. It's being able to get out of your thoughts and into taking action, the majority of cases. Some notable exceptions. There's an exception to everything. But what it also does is it also kind of expands your sense of possibilities, so to speak. And I know that's a very, woo-woo way of stating a benefit, and that doesn't seem like a very tangible benefit. But the way, the way it could work is like, let's say take my previous example. Let's say you've been procrastinating on taking out the trash. You take out the trash. You're like, oh, damn, it doesn't smell like trash in here anymore. Sweet. And then you're like, oh, what else? There we go. That's exactly what it is. I just had to talk through it to get to it. You ask yourself, what else? Because then that next little step up, once you take, that first little step, then you're like, this room's kind of dirty. It doesn't smell like trash anymore. Why don't I pick some other shit up or like clean it up? And then next thing you know, you have a clean room. And then you're like, oh shit, I have a clean room. Maybe I'm an organized person. Maybe I should like organize my shit and go through my email and make sure I'm not like missing anything. And then you go through your email and then you find an opportunity in there. And then you start seeing yourself in a different light, and your self-image will start to change over time, and like weird shit happens here. And this I know for a fact is documented. Weird shit will happen to your perception to where, like, I'm being dead ass here, you'll start seeing yourself as more attractive. I may be misquoting the study, but if I'm remembering correctly, there was a study that people essentially had to rate themselves on a scale of attractiveness. I'm probably not going to be able to find it, but I'll try to find it and link to it somewhere. But people rated themselves on a scale of attractiveness of 1 to 10, and they would have them rate themselves, and then they would have them take some like simple action. I think it was like some like basic cognition test, like one of those. I don't know if it was this one, but like the ring stacking thing that they do in Planet of the Apes. And then they would have them come back and rate themselves and their scale of attractiveness right immediately after finishing the cognition test. And being in a flow state and activity and successfully completing a task actually made the people, it was slight, but from what I understand, it was still statistically relevant as far as the results go. So that's really interesting to me. And speaking from experience, I think I'm, amazingly good looking. Yeah, I'm recording this too on video, so now I'm looking at the camera. No, but all joking aside, I think that there's some real significance to that. And what you'll find, and this has been my experience with attempting to take more action. I don't want to make myself out to be this amazing Tony Robbins figure, but like I'm pretty happy with how much action I'm taking in my life lately. And what I've found is I do think more highly of myself. And funny enough, so it's easier for me to relate to other people because of this, because I have a more clear line of where my personal boundaries are. And when you clearly define that for other people, it's easier to interact with you. I know this is getting a little bit off topic, but these effects are really real. And I just want to kind of hit all of the nail heads with, I want to kind of hammer them all down so you can really see how big of a deal it is to just start taking action. And it really just starts on such a small scale. And one of the, so to speak, one of the knock-on effects of taking continual action, or conversely not taking continual action, really is your worldview. So take, for instance, someone who does not consistently take action or get little wins. They don't start off getting little wins. They're just put in a state of reaction because, something bad happens to them and they're forced into taking action and they don't choose to do it proactively. Let's say, okay, a ticket would be a great example. I'm going to grab a drink of water. A ticket would be a great example, a traffic ticket of some way that, you're put in reaction. That's pretty much a loss for everybody. I like to think that I could flip that into a win, but who knows? Generally, it's a loss. You're put into reaction. You have to pay the ticket. It sucks. Like, there goes whatever your drinking money for the week or whatever it was. That then puts you into a more defensive mode and your thinking gets closed off. So you get put in a state of coping versus thriving. So your focus shifts into how can I just get through rather than what can I do to make this day or my life or someone else's day or someone else's life even better. You go into least common denominator versus pushing the boundary. And that really, that's a small scale example. But if you stack those and you don't interrupt that pattern with some sort of proactive win for yourself, like that shit gets heavy. Like that gets real heavy. And that, I really want to stick on that word. It's a heavy, like dense kind of, it's hard to describe, but I think if you've experienced that, you'll know what I'm talking about here. It really weighs on your psyche, and if you're an optimistic person, you'll be people will be like, yo, what's up with you, man? What's going on? And you'll be like, I don't really know. There's just something kind of weighing on you, and it'll kill your charisma. And I'm not trying to be catastrophic here. You can easily overcome this, but in the moment, it'll kill your charisma. You'll be just a little more down in the dumps. But what you can do to break that is, just like I said earlier, little wins. And once you become conscious of this, it hopefully, well, I know for me, it illuminated a lot of scenarios that I had been in previously, to where this effect was totally just running my life. And if I had had the, you know, if I had been armed with the knowledge, this is essentially what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to arm you with the knowledge of this so that you can make your own decisions and hopefully take action and improve, your life, even if it's just 0.1%. That's good enough for me. But if I had known that I could just take action to snap myself out of it, that would have been amazing. So that's kind of really just the key point here, is that you can set a, and honestly, it might feel like bullshit, and I'm sympathetic to that. I felt the same way. Like, you can set a really low bar for what a win is for you, but if you really get your brain to get there, and you really are like, yes, that was a win. Like, hell yeah, I took the trash out, I threw the bag in, I closed the lid, and then I went, touchdown, trash is out. That sounds ridiculous, but if you can get your brain there to think like, yes, I took the trash out, win, what else? Then you get to asking what else. And then you can slowly grind yourself out. And it's a grind. It's like, it's not overnight. And you have to, that's why I call it, like stacking wins. It's not just like one win and then the Pandora's box of success opens. In my experience, it takes a long time. Like it could take years to really condition yourself to really see yourself as a person who wins more than loses. So I kind of gave the example of being put into reaction by the traffic ticket and what that can do to your outlook. And I think that the exact opposite can happen if you give yourself little wins and kind of the mindset that puts you in. So the traffic ticket will put you in the mindset of, whatever risks I take are probably going to be losses. And the more, I guess you might call it the winner's mentality, for someone who's on the process of stacking wins for themselves, they would think, okay, if I take this risk, what is the possible upside? The upside becomes much more interesting to you because you become more confident that the downside won't be a big deal. That's the other thing, is the downside of taking an action, like, it's not a big deal. I think you become a lot more realistic about what the possible downsides of risks you take are, and you learn to recognize when you have an asymmetric bet to where there's all this upside and this downside is like, what? Like, you wasted your time? What else would you have been doing? Like, what else? And that's, I keep coming back to that. That's kind of the key question, is the question of what else. And if you're not asking yourself, what else could I be doing with my time? Almost all, not to a debilitating extent, but if you're not asking what else, I think you're really doing yourself a disservice. And I think it's worth evaluating whether you're in a mindset of coping or whether you're in a mindset of fucking thriving and crushing it. So, I mean, part of, to be completely honest, I partially do like podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff for myself, like, because I need to look back at that and be like, oh, dude, like you were killing it and you were like doing a podcast and stuff. What are you doing? Like, when I don't put anything out for 2 weeks and I'm like, God, you're fucking up, man. I'm trying to set the bar higher for myself, but I also do it because I'm starting to get people coming back to me being like, dude, I really like that. Like, it's helping me. I really enjoy it. So like, if I don't want you to just enjoy it. Like, I want you to go fucking do it. So here we go. This will be good. This is what I want you to do. I want you to take action and do, just like something. So 2 small things that you've been putting off. That could be, I know a lot of my friends who are listening, don't want to make it out to be more than it is, but some of the people who are listening to this are in the Army and they're probably close to their parents, but they live far away from them. If you've been putting off call your parents, call your fucking mom or dad. Like, do that. That'll make you feel, 1, it'll make you feel great because they love you and you'll get some love. That'll be great. But 2, if it's something you've been putting off, do that. I would also say, I would say the second big thing is something that stresses you out that comes up continually. I'm trying to think of like a good example. For me, there's this one certain credit card that I have that I ran up while I was at West Point that I still have not addressed. It's just the minimum payment is getting taken out of my account every month, and I kind of just ignore it because it's one thing that I just don't want to deal with. I'm going to go deal with that right after this. I'm literally going to go do it as soon as I'm done recording this. I swear to God, I'll do it. Do something like that. If there's one thing that you just keep putting off, and I found that like taking that away puts you in such a not having that little stressor on you can be so liberating. I think you're going to be amazed by just how good you're going to feel and like the stuff you're going to be willing to commit to after taking such small actions like that. But if you're listening to this, please really just take 2 little things. Just take 2 little things, go do them, make it easy, set the bar low so you can just, step right over it. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Your brain will start telling you like, okay, you like, what else? What else can I do? And what my hope for this is it'll just start you into an upward spiral. You'll start thinking bigger. You'll start having, you'll start like passing on that like charisma that you're going to gain and that action taking mentality. You'll pass it on to other people, and then it'll just become a big shit show of everybody taking action and being awesome. And then we'll all live happily ever after. Sound good? Perfect. Cool. In all seriousness, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. This was super cathartic for me. I hope it was awesome for you. I promise I've never said that before. I'm going to cut into a Tosa Brooks song, as I always do. It's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you like it, go to soundcloud.com/Tosa Brooks. You can download all his shit there for free. And enjoy. Peace.
Oh, baby! Did you get jet?
Feeling like the lost boy wonder. On cloud 9, man, I'm shitting on Rapunzel. Thoughts like thunder, gon' get the plunger. Living in a riddle with a big heart thumping. Everybody said, man, trust Coach Monken. Well, I was still trying to get over Coach E, cause last 3 years was like going 33. But that don't mean I don't support the team, man. I did 11 years to go all in. Give a little taste of the Tosa B. Killed Navy with the MIC. But lately I've been thinking maybe am I seen enough? It was tough trying to write a right face. Am I in the right place? Or in spite of what I make, will I never be great? It's a little too late for the bullshit. Loaded ink pen with a full clip, running every track like I stole it. Click clack on it, 4 in the morning. Now I take great measures, no matter the ruler. Wait for the treble to cock back and shoot it. Losing the crew that I used to be cool with. Oh well, Tosa Brooks is Gandalf like a wizard with a shot, boy. That's John Wall. And a minute on the clock, or attack is the call like a 2-3. Back to calling out of duty. New tracks falling, started from a loose lead. Scribble what I whittle when I get up on a little bit of signing. We don't chronic, plenty fish in the sea, but I'm hooked on phonics. Now TDE is resting on my mind. But if everybody tryna play hardball, call me Batman, I'm just waiting on a sign. Call me Pac-Man Jones in front of line, tryna stack them Mo's up on the line. Don't rap my woes out to the 5-0 when they rolling down the block. If they looking for the dope man, turn a blind eye to the romance heating up in the back of the Miller Park parking lots. Lamboulier is my tune these days. I don't ever wanna let it go, is it too late? Step into you, no love, touche. I don't wanna be the villain turning over new leaf. Low-key, feeling like Loki. Let me hope smash that ass all up in the next week. Thigh high socks cause you got cold feet. Ripping at the top cause your thighs too big. It's alright, that's what I like. Don't be self-conscious with a bad mindset. Go find freedom from the people that are creeping in your cerebellum, seeking to repel any thought that you can't be happy in your own skin open. Whatever that means in your own words, own it. Rolling in the phantom, going 80 on a 5 from the 3-2-3 to the 4-1. Oh my god, if you don't want me back, that's fine then. Stop!
You won, baby.